Welcome back to Island Tea. Your faves Kevon and Azem featuring Jade, who's always on my nerves.
Favorite place to
But
be.
excuse me.
On your nerves is my favorite place to be.
Um, yeah,
Why not?
get off. But
No.
it's time to jump into Eat Local with our special guest, Jermul Huggins. Welcome and good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. How are you today?
I'm doing good, thank you. How are you
You,
guys doing?
well, we're fair to partly cloudy on my end. Siobhan, I don't know about you.
Mm.
Oh boy. Today is one of those days.
You know, yeah,
Sorry, Kevon is on
but
Zoom, so you can't
I
see
can,
him.
I can, I figured that.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm on Zoom, so you can't see me.
He's
I
somewhere
don't.
out in
I'm.
outer
I'm
space.
not. I'm not. Yeah.
If he's wearing something
Uh,
black on his
but
head
we
with like
love
a
to
yellow
start
top,
this
I
segment
can't see
off
him.
Oh,
with
you can. Oh.
asking you the question.
Kevon, she said she can see you actually. So, yes, never mind.
Oh, she could see me? Oh my gosh. Maybe here. Um, so, so we love to start this segment off with you telling us a little bit about who you are and what it is you do.
Okay,
The many
wow.
hats you wear. I know.
My name is Jermul Huggins, and well, first and foremost, I think I'll start with what I do. Um, I know Jade asked me on the show, and when she first asked me on the show, she mentioned beauty pageants, and I freaked out because
She did.
because I was like, that was like, 18 years ago. I feel like, I'm so old now. So that,
She is
because
not.
that is such a far distant past, it's just not the way I identify myself today. It's something I used to do. It was something I was good at, something I enjoyed for the time. But
Mhm.
I've moved on. I think I've found my passions in life, and
Excuse me.
that's what kind of molded me. When I
Mhm.
was younger, I did pageants and I was encouraged to do one after the other because I sang.
Mhm.
But at no point did anyone ever stop me and ask, is there anything else that you can do? Or anything else that you like to do?
Mhm.
So once I had the opportunity to leave and go to school and things like that and figure myself out, I looked around and I realized I was no longer in St. Kitts, and I thought, now I have the freedom to actually figure out who I am and what it is that I enjoy doing.
Mhm.
And I love people, love writing, and I fell in love with that. And that's currently what I do now. I'm a writer.
Oh. What kind of writing do you do?
I started off as a content writer.
Mhm.
I had a friend of mine who worked for a company and would kind of pick my brain sometimes for ideas. And eventually she thought, you know what? I'm going to help you just get a job
Ooh.
at my company. So I started doing content work for websites and things like that, for
Mhm.
their blogs and certain things. But I decided to become an independent contractor because I stopped liking the fact that I was doing all this work, but I was pretty much a ghostwriter, and it
Mhm.
reminded me of music,
Yeah.
where your work can be on so much material, and the world would never know it.
Mhm.
And I decided I want my name on my work
Mhm.
from that point on. So I decided to start writing on my own, and eventually that went into editing. So I spend a lot of time correcting other people's writing.
Oh, I should send you my stuff. I am terrible at well, yeah. I think I'm kind of terrible at
It's
writing
pretty
and
cool
words.
because you never
Yeah.
know what can come across.
Mhm.
Today you might be doing an article for a website that's extremely mundane and just boring. And the
Mhm.
next day you could be editing a commercial
Ooh.
for, pots and pans or something like that. So,
Yes. So your job puts you in
So,
different avenues and you enjoy
yes,
them.
it
Yes,
does.
as you should.
It
Because
does.
Kevon, you had a question.
so tell us, how did you end up here? Like, where did you, how did you stumble into this? Or if you didn't stumble, what pushed you, prompted you, encouraged you to pursue this new
Writing?
venture?
You're speaking specifically of writing?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I loved music. Still do.
Yes, I heard that.
But
Oh, you don't want to know the amount of people when they saw your flyer was like, oh my gosh, Jermel, she sings and oh.
yes, and people ask me that all the time, and sometimes I wish the question was, "Are you happy?" Not, are you still singing?
You know
But
how
I
humans
completely-
are.
I understand it, though. I completely understand. It's what I was known for, at least here. But what happened was, I think that was very clear while I lived here as well. At one point, I was in a band.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it became very apparent to not just myself, but other people that, okay, this girl can sing, but
Mm-hmm.
she looks very coy on stage. She has a very shyness about her on stage. See, pageants were one thing because there were different elements to a
I
pageant.
have to tip my hat to anyone who can enter a pageant because I already know, like, if I even try it, as soon as I walk outside, I'm going to fall. And it's going to be a wrap for my pageant career, just like that.
I had managed to master a specific method to getting through pageants that just was not working out for me with singing, because performing I had to be on stage and kind of control a stage for an extended period of time. And growing up here in St. Kitts, and I'm not trying to throw blame around, but I started doing music at a very young age. And I think that what was expected of me in terms of performance-wise, I don't think a lot of people realized what they were asking at that time. Because at the time, I remember, for example, being 16 or 17 years old, and being on stage and having someone in the audience, you know, shouting, "You need to start dancing like Alison Hines and TC." And I'm thinking to myself, does this person recognize that I am still, I'm 16, 17 years old?
Oh,
And
Lord.
so, because I felt like if I was, you know, quote unquote, wilding out on stage, that just would not have been me. And I loved the music, the singing, but what was required of me regarding performance just was not my type of music.
Yeah.
I like very mellow types of music. I grew up listening to Sade and Celine
Ooh,
Dion,
ooh.
Whitney Houston.
Okay.
And it was this kind of music that got me noticed in the first place and got me the opportunity to move to Canada. So once I got there, I thought that was the style of music that I would be able to now comfortably go into that genre. But they took one look at me and decided she is a pop singer.
Oh, boy.
And, you know, she needs to, we need to pretty much mold her into, you know, Britney Spears type or, you know, a Rihanna type. And that just, again, that just was not me. You know, I'm the person that you put on a stage in a long gown and a microphone, and
just
I
have
will
you-
go
yeah.
off until the
Yeah.
end of a song. But, you know, tell me to start running around and dancing and doing all this stuff, and it just takes me completely out of my comfort zone. And because I was so young, and because I didn't have a lot of support and a lot of people around me who really understood the
Realized, yeah.
industry, at least from down here, I think it was very easy for them up there to kind of call all the shots and kind of shove me in
Yeah.
that direction, until finally I decided, you know what, I'm losing the passion for this. This isn't what I want to do.
They
And I
sucked all the fun out of you.
They did.
Yeah.
I started writing and started writing some of my own music. And when I realized I was getting good at that, I thought, you know what? Just because I'm not going to be out front anymore doesn't mean I can't be a part of the business anymore.
So you started
I
creating
started
songs
creating, yes. So I
Ooh.
started going on the creative side of it and writing songs. And then I was introduced to ghostwriting, where you co-write songs for other artists. And that is what really broke me into writing, because once I realized I was good at that, I started writing poems, and then that went into writing short stories and blog type information. I'm a reader, so I love to read. And, you know, once something is in my head, I think as a writer, I always say that we live in a very different world. We see the world very differently. Because I can be writing on a bus and something comes to my head and I will put it down on a piece of napkin, because you just have to get it out.
Get it down.
So
Yeah.
once I started doing that, that's how this came about. I had a friend at the time, and she saw that talent. She was much older than I was, and she took me under her wing. And then she said, you know, I'm going to pitch some of my ideas through you, and if this works out, I will talk to my bosses about helping you get a job. And
It worked out.
It really was as simple as that. I'm sorry that story isn't more interesting,
Oh,
but
no,
it really
that's-
was
it-
as simple
it
as that.
actually is. It actually is, because and I'm happy that you found your passion in writing, because writing is something that a lot of people don't do.
Yeah.
And it's getting less and less because we have smartphones now.
I know.
So all of us can't spell and we can't formulate sentences.
That really
and
frustrates me.
Yeah, it's
You know,
sad.
I have a question, Jade, and I love that Jade just brought it up. So, you know, we have the introduction of smartphones, and everything is just white information. You know, you give anybody a video to watch that's longer than 30 seconds, it's not going to be watched. You give anybody something to read that's longer than space on your phone screen, they can't read it.
Yeah,
How
as soon
has
as
it
you see
been,
more
you
come
know,
up in a
trying to
message, they say
write?
no.
Right. How has it been trying to be, you know, as a writer, what is it like trying, you know, creating pieces in this sort of era where, you know, everything has to be super concise or it, you know, you run the risk of not being consumed?
That's actually a really, really good question, because in the beginning I had a tendency of being very long-winded because I like to be very detailed in explaining things. And I had to learn very quickly that you have to be concise, because of the fact that we need to be stimulated visually, mentally, emotionally, sometimes even physically, 24/7 in order to keep people's attention. They just have to be stimulated. And like he was saying, visuals are so important. So what we're really taught to do as writers is to create a visual world using words. So you try to start off by being as salacious, as intriguing, as enticing as you can in the beginning. Because once you have a person with a concept, they're more than likely to keep reading because you already have their interest. But if the first, you know, few sentences don't grab them, you've lost them already. They just don't care.
Automatically, yeah.
So it's still a struggle, though. I'm not going to lie. It's still a struggle, and that's why sometimes I'm happy when I have things to write or have work to do that has nothing to do with, you know, the consumer necessarily having to read through everything. It's just that I have to do my work and provide this content. So
Boy,
that's the difficult part.
Yeah, because currently we're in this era where reading is literally becoming obsolete. I don't know why.
There are
like people
ways
don't like
around
to
it,
read.
though, because what people don't understand is when you read, you not only expand your mind, but you expand things like your vocabulary. So I tell people all the time, sometimes put the phone away. You have something to say to a friend or a family member. You can pick up a phone and actually call and have a conversation. Or if you live in a place like St. Kitts, you can go visit somebody or you run into them in town. But remove the virtual world for a second. Remove yourself from the virtual world for a second and be a part of the physical one. Because what I find happens very easily is people get so caught up behind the screens that even when they're in front of you, they've lost the concept of real human connection.
Yes. Oh
People
my
don't
gosh,
even
it's so
sympathize
strange.
anymore.
No, I think the art of conversation is getting lost. It's so strange to me because I'm somebody that talks a lot, hence why I'm on the radio. But and trying to talk to people, unless it's about gossip, they don't know how to. It's the more I realize it, the weirder it is to me.
Yeah.
It's true.
The worst is when you're talking to someone and they don't even know how to make eye contact anymore. Their eyes are even gazing all over the place, or they're in their
looking
phone,
down,
because it's a fear that is almost uncontrollable. They're so not used to having someone directly in front of them all the time. It's behind a screen. You can say anything, act any way you feel. Your body language can be whatever you want it to be behind a screen. But when you put a human being in front of you, they can assess what's actually in front of them. So they can pick up on your authenticity, if you're lying, if you're telling the truth, and that scares a lot of people. So it's easier to just text something.
Yeah, boy, what a world we're living in. I can't. Being younger, like I used to love reading. Like I used to read all F summers. I used to have books. I still have books that I read. I mean, granted, they're more on like Kindles and stuff.
Yeah.
But I still love reading. Yeah. But yeah, as you said, it's almost becoming lost through technology.
It is.
And I don't know how do you think that we can fix that? Like how do you think we can backpedal and get back into us loving reading again?
I think it takes people, like you and I and other people who really enjoy having a real human connection, really pushing those people around us and insisting, because I had to do that. I was terrified at first, but I had to do that and tell my friends, I don't understand shorthand. So don't even bother texting me shorthand.
Right, sometimes.
I
Oh my
don't-
gosh.
And because I decided that I'm not going to be the one that tries to understand that. You have to try to get back to real communication.
And even with emojis. Oh
So
my
I
gosh.
had to try to push them to do that, and then other times it would just be things like, no, I'm going to pick up the phone and call you, or just letting people know I prefer this over that, because if they really want to
Yeah.
communicate with you, they will step up to communicating with you on the level that you are accustomed to otherwise.
And I have to say, myself and Kevon and Azem are culprits. We are texters. We we sometimes prefer people to text us, but I do enjoy conversations more.
And there's nothing wrong with texting,
Mhm.
especially if you're busy and things like that. But I think maybe having different events, maybe where you just at the door, you throw in all phones and you find a way to keep everybody's attention, whether it could be something as simple as a comedy show, but just anything that detaches them from the telephone
Oh
for
boy,
a while.
that's a hard
I think
thing to
Yeah,
do.
but
Something that's
you have to do
equally
it, and I've done
stimulating.
it before. You know, if I go out
Yes.
with friends, we stack the phones on the table, and we say the
Yes.
first person to pick up the phone has to pay.
it has to start
So,
with
you know.
somebody. If you have a family, for example, I've seen parents texting their children to come to dinner within the same household. I've seen
So we don't shout at children
don't
anymore?
shout
Wow.
anymore.
Shout across the
know,
house. That stopped? Wow.
I've seen couples trying to have meaningful conversations, and one person is saying, okay, while they're on their phone.
Yeah.
So it requires for the other person to just put their foot down and say, no, I need your attention
Yeah.
right now. Get them accustomed to making time for the phone, but making time for people at the same time.
Yeah, because what I do, I usually put my phone in my bag or just out of, especially if I find it so rude that you go to dinner with your friends and everybody just on their phone. Like,
Yes.
it is, we're supposed to enjoy each other's company. So
Yeah.
why are we just, everybody head down and texting? Like, come on, we literally sitting across from each other and we can't even have a conversation because everybody distracted.
Yeah.
Everybody distracted by social media, the work, like, it,
And that's why, there are a lot of places, at least for me, where I am right now in the US, where you walk into a building and instantly it says, no telephones allowed. And maybe small, implementations like those would actually help, because
yeah.
walking into a movie theater, for example, there is nothing ruder than a phone going off next to me in the middle of a great
Literally, you're
movie.
trying to watch Avengers and your phone and somebody
Step
phone
Avengers.
and because I love I am a big
Me
Avenger.
too.
Like last night, side note, last night my 2-year-old son, I was watching Avengers and he was watching Paw Patrol, and he stopped watching Paw Patrol and started watching Avengers. So now we just watched Avengers together. Nothing made me happier than him being into Avengers for me, because I love this series so much.
Nice.
But yeah, like maybe, yeah, you're right. Maybe if some of these places like restaurants or, I don't know where else could implement this, but especially restaurants,
Yes.
no phones allowed unless it's an emergency.
Because it takes away from other people's experiences as well. You don't want to be overhearing someone, screaming at, their babysitter who just bailed, or a cheating spouse or something like that, while you're trying to enjoy a nice dinner.
Right? Oh my gosh. Like, and what's so funny? Like, we find, Kevon, I don't know if you've ever experienced this, Kevon, but we could be outside and people screaming into their phones. So like everybody know their business now.
Yes.
Their business on road,
Yeah.
and they're wondering like, how did this happen?
Yeah.
So, and like, oh, sorry. They just told us that we didn't even realize that time went so fast because
I
we were
know.
enjoying this conversation.
Right.
But apparently time has run down on us, and this conversation has to continue.
Okay.
But it can't continue today.
For sure.
So, Jermul, it was a pleasure discussing with you, having actual conversations.
Thank you. It was a pleasure being here.
Yes, and see, it wasn't as bad because I know you were
I
a
know.
little.
I was terrified. I hate having to talk about myself.
Don't we all? Don't we all? But Kevon, since we're a little pressed for time, we won't do the whole spiel that we do with
Yeah.
Amali. So we'll just have you take us out. Again, Jermel, thank you so much for coming and having this conversation with us.
Welcome.
We will definitely have you back in future.
Thank you for
We can't let
inviting
we
me.
can't yeah we can't just let Sandra take you all the time. And I hope she's listening and she heard me say that. But yes, Kevon, please take us out.
So remember that you can't be everybody's cup of tea because you is not a mug. See you tomorrow.
I love that.